Hey guys, before we get started, I've got a quick favor to ask. I need you to like, subscribe, and share this podcast if you feel you're getting value from it. That's how we're going to get these conversations in front of more people. And just as important, if not more important, is your feedback. The good, the bad, the ugly. I want the critical information on how we can make this podcast better for you and deliver value every time. And if you know somebody in Louisiana who's doing big things in their field, industry, or business, please drop their name in the comments. We'd love to have the opportunity to bring them on the show. At the end of the day, this is all about the youth of Louisiana and putting local leaders in front of them and giving them something real to learn from. Now let's get it. What's up, everybody? It's your host for the For Profit Podcast, Matthew Pearce, and I've got my wonderful next guest with me, Mr. Ross LeBlanc, injury attorney with Dudley DeBosier. Allow Ross to introduce himself and give us a little bit about himself and his background. So why don't you take the mic, Ross?
Thanks, Matt. I'm Ross LeBlanc. I grew up in Chalmette, Louisiana, and my family moved up to Baton Rouge after Katrina. I went to law school at Southern University. Played basketball in undergrad at Millsaps College, and since I graduated in 2011, I've been a lawyer representing people. I did a little bit at the public defender's office, and then I started representing people who are injured mostly in car crashes. And I've had the last 10 years of my career at Dudley DeBosier here in Baton Rouge and New Orleans and everywhere else in Louisiana.
And what Ross failed to mention is you've got a very unique skill. Why don't you let the audience know what that skill is, where they can find you on social media? What is it that you do that's unique to you, Ross?
I can rap a little bit on TikTok, and I can lip sync to some songs if that's a skill. But I just started messing around with TikTok this summer, and some of the videos, caught some attention. So it's been fun on there. I didn't realize I spent so much time trying to avoid social media, and then I kind of got sucked into it this year, and I realized you can meet a lot of people. TikTok is completely different than Facebook and Instagram, and so It's been a lot more democratic.
You've done a great job in just putting yourself out there, just being authentic. And I think that's probably one of the things I love about you most, is just how genuine you are, and you're not afraid to put yourself out there. So I love that about you. That's definitely a reason why we had you on here today.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything negative about anybody, and that's not part of my brand. I would go out of my way to say all positive things on TikTok, but there are some stereotypical things about lawyer marketing that you see, and I try to go out of my way to not be that.
Yeah.
Most people will just say, "Oh, I love watching the LSU fighting Tigers and, staying at home with my kids." And all those things are true about me like they're true about anybody else. But I don't think that really shows you something about somebody. And so I try to show those parts of me that I think are maybe a little bit funny or weird, make me different,
Yeah, definitely.
Be myself.
I mean, we're all unique individuals, and I think it's good to be able to show that because it makes you relatable, right? One of the things behind this podcast is, I call it, my guests are local leaders in industry and business or a particular profession. So, you're definitely on here because of your pursuit of the constant improvement with your skill set, with being a trial attorney, right? We've talked at length before about Trial Lawyers College, and we're going to get into a little bit about that today. But, you're somebody who is local. You were born humble beginnings in Chalmette, Louisiana, down in New Orleans area. And,
Funniest thing about Chalmette is when I mention I'm from there and people go, "Nuh-uh, you're not from Chalmette," or "It doesn't sound like it," or "No, you're not." And I'm thinking, do you know a lot of people pretending to be, from Chalmette or Marrero or places like that?
Yeah.
Like, if you from Donaldsonville and people say, "No, you're not from Donaldsonville," it's like, what a place to pretend to be from, right?
Oh my gosh, dude, that is hilarious. Yeah. No, not many people bragging about being from Donaldsonville or Chalmette. So let's talk a little bit about your upbringing. Tell us about, how, I know you have a few siblings, parents. What was that like? Where'd you go to high school?
Yeah, I got two brothers, and my older brother has a different mom. My dad is born and raised in Marrero. My mom was born and raised in Chalmette. And my dad's family was more like welders, people like that, pipe fitters. And then my mom was all hairdressers, almost all on that side of the family. And so blue collar jobs, just like most people in Louisiana.
Yeah.
And even though my parents didn't go to college, they really wanted me to. I was the first college graduate. I went to Hannon High School, played basketball and ran track. And I went to Millsaps College, which is a small liberal arts school, and I got to play basketball up there in Jackson, Mississippi.
And so, looking back on your upbringing, was there a particular coach or teacher who maybe influenced you? Where did it come from that you wanted? Because that's more of a academic college, right? It's a smaller college. You did have the opportunity to play basketball, but that's a college definitely known for academics. Who really pushed you?
That's a great question. One English teacher named Gary Weiss really comes to mind.
Shout out, Mr. Gary.
And, I probably spent most of my high school time trying to be an athlete and trying to fit in with the popular kids and the athletic type of kids, even though probably my predisposition, if I'm being honest with myself, is to be more bookish and introverted.
More scholastic.
Yeah, more scholastically inclined. But I guess I was a little embarrassed about that, at a younger age. I just wanted to fit in like most kids do.
Yeah.
And so I spent more time trying to get involved in sports. My teacher, Gary Weiss, always gave us writing assignments. He would teach us really difficult and interesting vocabulary words. He would write them up on the board every day. And I remember this weird one, boustrophodon. And it was, you'll never use this word.
Boustrophodon. I can't wait to hear about this.
It has to do with the way cows get herded in a line like this, and bank lines and lines at theme parks kind of move in that little way. And that's a word for it.
TSA lines.
Yes, like a TSA line. So he would give us really obscure words all the time, and you'd have to try to use them in a sentence. He would give us crazy writing assignments and encourage us to think that we were good writers and we could do things like that. Took some poetry classes with him. And so I think he really encouraged me to pursue English, which is what I majored in. And I could probably guess your major had something to do with business or something like that.
Yeah.
Every football
business
player,
management,
So,
concentration in marketing.
So my major was English. And when you go to college, even at a smart college like Millsaps, every athlete is like, well, I'm going to major in business or something like that's useful, right?
A useful general degree.
Right.
And I said, college teammates, they got put into those healthcare administration, and after school they were looking for jobs.
Yeah. So I did English, and I think it's a different path, but those skills are communication, being able to write, think clearly, read a lot, communicate, talk to people, and I think those skills would benefit anybody in any type of business. I just happened to end up deciding to go into law school, and it helps there too,
So so you finish in English at Millsaps, you did undergrad, you attended Southern Law, right?
Right.
How did you come to choose Southern as your law school of choice? And, what made you say, you know what, I'm going to be an attorney? This is what I'm going to do with this degree. I'm not just going to stop here and go teach English,
Which I thought about, yeah. I thought about coaching high school basketball and teaching English. That was something I was prepared to do with my life, and I thought that would be a lot of fun. 2008 was the year that I graduated college, and if you remember, there was a financial crisis that year. So it was a terrible year to try and get out and start a job. A lot of my business friends were getting fired from their jobs around that time too. So it thought about law school as maybe a place to go wait out for a couple of years till the economy got better.
Kind of kick the can down the road.
Exactly. Like a lot of people did. So yeah, I guess law school was a way to kick the can down the road in a kind of way. But thinking back, my mom always told me, hey, you could be a lawyer, or you should be a lawyer, because that's what moms tell smart-ass little kids, And
you're so damn good at arguing, you got a defense case all the time. Why don't you be an attorney?
You got to question everything. Why don't you be a lawyer or something like that? So they told me to be that, and I always liked the lawyers I saw in movies and read in books. And then, we had different times where my family had to go to court for different things, and so I was always kind of thoughtful about the role of judges and lawyers in ordinary people's lives and how much they affect it. If a hurricane wipes your house off the, face of the earth.
In Chalmette, that's a real possibility.
It happen all the time. And then you need to make a claim, and the insurance company needs proof, and it's never enough proof. And you'd have to call a lawyer. And it just always occurred to me that lawyers can make a real big difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of job where you can do something good for the public, for everyday people.
And I know the common misconception when you hear trial attorney or injury attorney, you know, most people think, you know, there's, like you said, there's that, what is the word I'm looking for? Help me, Mr. English major.
Connotation?
No, like that stereotype, like they're just, you know, money hungry or, you know, chasing accidents, you know, preying on these things to happen, right? But like you are more about impacting people's lives. I know when I first met you, you describing some of the cases to me and how you were able to make a difference. It wasn't about a dollar amount, but it was helping these people to become whole again and feel heard. And that was just so impactful to me because, you know, I didn't know any injury attorneys at the time that I had met you, but you know, you see all the commercials and you come up with things in your head. And so that's been one of the favorite things about getting to know you and learning about the impact that you've made in your clients' lives. So,
well, thank you, Matt. I think there's definitely a marketing battle that goes on out there about tort reform and about lawyers. And look, a lot of lawyers don't do us as lawyers as a group any favors for those types of bad images that we get put out there. But it definitely benefits some certain people if lawyers are thought of as bad and greedy, you know? And nothing turns me off more than listening to a lawyer brag about how much money they've made or, you know, how they settled a case that was, you know, more than what they should have gotten. It makes me feel not so good. And I imagine that anyone who's not a lawyer hears that type of response and thinks like, oh, okay, well, that's why my insurance is so high, or that's what's wrong with the country, or that's what's wrong with America. So I think if anybody's chasing money and putting money, and I know we got for profit as the name of this show here, but if money is your goal, you're never going to be happy and nobody else is going to root for you. And why should they? You know, because if the only thing that you're in it for is the money and that's the only thing that you're chasing, then what good is that really for everybody else?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned the name of the podcast, For Profit. So that'll be something that we get to a little later, but we don't just say that profit per se is, you know, the money that's left over, how much money you made. It can be in abundance or what it looks like for success for you. So it has a lot of different meanings for us here on this show, but it's funny you kind of called that out. Why don't you tell me maybe about a recent case where you were able to have a tremendous impact on somebody's family? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's, you know, I saw there was a list of questions you sent me and some of them were like, what's your ideal client? You know, what's a good client look like? And there were so many answers to that question. But when I look at somebody who's a parent, sometimes a single parent, those ones have always stood out to me as the most. Like a single parent that's trying to balance everything, raise their kids, provide for them, the way everybody wants to provide for their kids, right? But then an injury takes you out of work and everything's more difficult. Everything. So watching somebody that has fought through that, still made it work, made $1 out of 15 cents, put a smile on their kids' faces, did all the things they were going to have to do, but on their own. And then being able to give a large amount of money to that person because it's the right thing, the right amount of compensation for them. But then to stay in touch with them and watch how they've been able to build a new life for their kids, either buy a new house or put their kids in a better school and improve their life. And to know that you did that for one person, it always just makes me think like, you know, there's no politician that's impacted one single person's life in that way. Now, you know, I've had maybe 1,000 clients or maybe 2,000 clients, somewhere in that range. So it's not like I'm changing the world for everybody, but for a couple of people, I'm changing their life completely. And that kind of thing feels amazing.
Yeah. So one thing I mentioned earlier was your constant pursuit of improvement and sharpening your skill set to help these families out. And it makes me think back to something that I read on the daily. It's mastery. And you just kind of embody that. It's like the constant pursuit of mastery in your craft. And that's another thing that I really admire about you. And so where does that come from? You know, that pursuit of mastery? Because as an attorney, you can make a good living. You can help a lot of people. You can impact, you know, several lives, but what is it for you that makes you want to be the best attorney that you can be for those clients? And then get into a little bit about the trial lawyers college.
Okay. Man, I think like what does the pursuit of excellence come from? I mean, maybe, a little bit of self-hatred, maybe
Okay.
maybe bullying from being younger and people bullied you and made you think that you weren't good or that there was something wrong with you. And then as you go through life, and I found out this with me, but as I go through life and I leave my bullies behind me, but I kind of become the bully to myself. I'm the one that's constantly saying like, Ross, you're not good enough, or there's something wrong with you, because the bully's not around me. So whose voice isn't in my head saying that to me? And always trying to fix something about myself that I thought was broken. So maybe that's been a lot of it. A lot of the time you spend putting into books or trying to work on yourself is because you tell yourself you're not good enough.
Yeah.
And so if it's a motivational tool, do you really want to get rid of it? But what a negative one, Yeah. So part of maturing is starting to accept like, hey man, you're good just the way you are. God made you perfect and you have a purpose here. Just have to be yourself and show up and be present every day and let go of the fear and let go of the self-judgment and the self-criticism so much.
And dude, that's what to me shines so much when you're being so authentic on social media. Like when you're putting yourself out there, just becoming relatable, right? And being able to kind of laugh and have fun with yourself. And so the trial lawyers college.
I mean, just the bullying that happened to me, to be fully authentic, is my armpits were stained yellow in high school, and this one guy would call me Mellow Yellow.
Mellow Yellow.
Yeah, man, that was like the roughest that it got,
Dude, he said the roughest. Hey, I
hated it dude. Because then you would have to be like, nothing would take these yellow stains out, and if you ever went to your mom and asked her to buy you new clothes,
That's wild. So look.
They didn't want to, right?
Dude, I am thinking of one of my best friends to this day. Dare I shout him out on this podcast?
Don't
he is a bad son of a bitch. I'm going to describe him, and everybody from my hometown is going to know who I'm talking about. But he had that same issue. Like underneath his arms, his shirts would turn yellow. But I'll be damned if he wasn't bench pressing like 225 in the 8th grade. Like he might have taken the same approach, Ross. And he was, dude, one of the hardest nosed football players. Like, and I played in college. You got some people that you play with some screws loose, and this dude would put it all out on the line. And we never picked on him though for that. So, and thank you for being vulnerable with us here today. So yeah, I want to get to that trial lawyers college. Please tell us more about that, and where did that come from? You deciding to go and say, hey, you know what? I'm probably getting trained at my office and learning from other attorneys around me, but I'm going to take this thing international. I'm going, across the country. You've learned and taught at these. Is that correct?
The teaching that I've done has been more like through my office at Dudley DeBosier. We put on some clinics.
Okay, so you've gone to learn at this trial attorneys college.
Trial lawyers college. I've always gone as a student, and they have a couple of week-long classes at different parts around the country, but the big one is going for 3 weeks or 23 days. And excuse me, but I just got back from this 23-day long class, which is like their flagship program, the 3-week, 23-day trial lawyers college. So you learn advanced trial skills. You stay on your feet the whole time. So it's not a lot of reading and writing and sitting down and listening to lectures. Because it's like anything. Any industry, you go to a presentation or a seminar, and it's like hundreds of people sitting down, right? Hundreds of people sitting down in an audience listening to one guy speak. But the things with trial lawyers college is they get you up on your feet and get you to talk about your cases and work on things in real life. And so it's a lot more memorable and a lot more beneficial.
So kind of segueing from the trial attorneys college, I wanted to ask you, there's this saying, I want to know what your feelings are on it. A good lawyer knows the law, but a great lawyer knows the judge.
Yeah, man, that is a popular saying. I feel conflicted about it. I think about that saying a lot, and I've sort of changed how I thought about it over the years. So when I first heard it, I think what it implied is, a good lawyer knows facts, or a good lawyer knows the law, right? But a great lawyer knows the judge. Kind of implies that if you know the judge, you might be getting some special treatment, kind of winning around the, not quite in a proper way, because you know the judge, so you're getting the right rulings or something.
I feel like it would just be a way to present the facts that the judge would prefer.
That's the way I've come to appreciate it. But whenever when I make videos on social media, some people will say, no, I'd rather have a lawyer who's golfing with the judge. Like they want someone that has a personal relationship with the judge.
Okay.
And I think that's the way some people take it. But the more that you practice, the more you have to think the judge is your audience. Before you ever get to the jury, the judge is the gatekeeper on most of your motions that have anything to do with your case. So it's right to think about the judge. Is the judge someone that grew up rich or grew up poor? Did they have to fight, or did things get handed to them? Have they been discriminated against, or have they been the person that's had all the power mostly? Does the judge have children? Is the judge a mother or a father? Very simple things like that can change. So I'll use an analogy. Being a father, a lot of times I'll use an analogy that has something to do with my kids when I'm arguing a motion. But it makes no good to do that to a judge that doesn't have children.
So what you said your viewpoints on that have changed. Has it changed since trial attorney college, or is that just something that has developed over your career from going to court, the tenure of how long you've been doing this? What has had the biggest influence on you?
Yeah, I think the experience. It's been 14 years now that I've been a lawyer, so it's been a long time. 14 years as a lawyer now.
14 years.
Yeah.
God. And we met, when did we meet, Ross? Back in...
Oh, it was after COVID.
I thought it was...
2021?
2020?
21.
We met at Brass.
Uh-huh. You remember what we did the first time we met?
Me and Ross got tore up.
Yeah.
It was basketball draft.
My wife went out of town.
Oh, Lord.
My wife went out of
times
town.
Start when the wife goes out of town.
And so I Ubered to the draft and that was my first time really meeting you. And I think I brought a bottle of Jack Daniels with me.
Yeah.
And we drank it.
We drank that whole bottle. I remember having a drink and spilling my drink on Jordan Faircloth,
Absolutely.
The incoming president for that year. And here I am, a rookie, getting to participate. I had a good showing in flag football that year. We won a championship. Mm-hmm. And I'm
Selfless
talking
plug.
What's that?
Selfless plug.
Selfless plug. I was I won a lot of things that year. But so anyway, so it's our first basketball draft, and we meet. We hit it off. Like, we're both post players, big guys, big, strong, athletic guys. And we had a friend in the club who was like, man, if I get the chance, I'm drafting both of you. And we both got drafted to that team.
Shout out Trey.
Shout out Trey Albin. And we were lit. We were excited. So got a little rowdy, which is kind of funny because
we're both sober now.
Both of us sober. Neither of us drank. And I haven't said it prior to this on any episode, but, I'd stopped drinking because of the Ironman when I was training. And I've talked about that. But the reason why I didn't start again, Ross, was because of you. So, dap you up on that.
Awesome.
I went that whole year for training. I had these goals. I wanted my habits to align with my goals. And I think you had celebrated a year at that time, like maybe sometime last year. You had made it a year, and then so you had gotten it 2 years. And when I got to a year sober, I was like, well, I'll be damned if, I let Ross outdo me.
See, that's what it was. Yeah, it wasn't that I inspired you. It was like, you can't let me have anything.
Yeah, I said,
because I did the triathlon first too.
You did do the triathlon first.
It was like anything I'll go do. He's like, oh, I bet I can do that like 100 times.
That was not even a thought. I do remember, Ross, when I was training, you were like, I think I didn't tell you for probably 4 or 5 months. Like, you knew I was training for a triathlon, and you were like, well, what you gonna do? You gonna do something else? And I was like, yeah, I got an Ironman targeted. And you're like, man, an Ironman, a whole damn Ironman? And you were like,
that's the appropriate reaction.
You said something. You were like, man, I hate that you're kind of doing that. I'd like to do that. Or something. You made like a joke about it. It was funny. But no, no, I mean, great men, iron sharpens iron to push one another. And I've thoroughly enjoyed being sober. I think I'm sharper, I'm quicker, I'm wittier, funnier, whatever you want to be. I don't lack sleep in the mornings from being hungover. So just beneficial. And I have you to thank for my continued sobriety because I saw you doing it. And I just wanted to be like Ross.
Thanks, man. Do you want to talk about sobriety? Is that a topic we want to?
Oh, we've talked about it with other guests. How have you
Yeah.
seen that? So you said you've been an attorney for 14 years, right? A lot of those years spent drinking a lot of alcohol. Me diving into that with you at the brass party.
Yeah.
But what have you seen as a positive effect from that, whether that be with family, friends, or work and business?
Man, well, I think in the law, like law is one of those professions that has a higher rate of suicide. They have a higher rate of depression. They have a higher rate of alcoholism. And so there's all these stereotypes. You talk about being a personal injury lawyer and the bad stereotypes that go along with that. One of them is that you're greedy. One of them is that you're lazy. One of them is that you're an alcoholic. That you're all these different negative things. Who would want to be those things? And so when you take a look at your life and you think, am I drinking a little bit more? Am I being a little bit lazy? Am I making money a priority in my life? If I'm doing those things, then I'm the stereotype that I wish I wasn't.
Yeah.
And to look in the mirror and see that that's who you're becoming, or that could be who you're becoming, even just a fraction of yourself, really scared me and made me want to drop all those things.
Yeah.
What if I went completely the other way? Because it's not written in stone that you have to be one thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wanted to
turning
drop
point or anything, or like
turning point. I could think of a couple of times that I got drunk and embarrassed myself.
Yeah.
And that woke up and didn't want to feel that way again.
Yeah.
I could think about my children, wanting to set a good example for them and wanting to live a long life for them. But I think really when it comes down to just yourself, if you have ambition and there's things you want to do in life, then alcohol, no doubt, is probably holding you
Yeah,
back
it's
a
not
little
going to
bit.
add to
It's not gonna add.
be a positive gain.
But as a young lawyer, there's, all the lawyers in books and TVs that are drinking. And so you saw that as part or what
You
it was
correlate that with
expected.
success or fun or being the personable guy.
Yeah, I was in court last week and we were waiting on a jury trial, and one of the judges said to me, "Oh, a lot of lawyers, like, they go have a drink, while they wait for the jury." And that was always something I thought about. Like, there's some great lawyers in town that they love bourbon, they love cigars, they love all these nice things, and I just thought that was part of it, that it all came together.
Yeah.
So maybe there was some mystery there that I idolized and associated with success, and then I just came to realize that it's probably a fool's game, something that keeps you from being success, at least in my own personal life.
No, absolutely. I mean, that was one of the things I kind of struggle with as well, is like in business and networking, I make relationships, happen, and you got to treat people, treat clients and things like that. And I always thought that you needed to have that stuff in those environments, and they can still have it, but I don't have to have it to still be that fun guy, to still be able to entertain. I've got friends who are like, I just don't know how I would stop drinking. I'm in business. And I'm like,
look, one of the ones you're
You
thinking
just
about,
stop.
we're not going to shout him out, but one of the ones you're thinking about, he called me today, and there's just some people that they're not going to stop.
Yeah.
And there's some people that there's no negative consequences that
Yeah.
I can see for them,
Yeah. But then I think about, man, how much sharper would they be if they're at this level of success if they took that away? I don't know. Like I said, I don't care if you do or don't. It's just I know it helps me get a little bit of an edge.
If you're thinking about you wanted to quit drinking, whether it was to get an edge or something like that, I found some of the greatest motivators were just the vanity. Your skin looks better, and
Tell us, Ross. Tell us.
You're going to lose some weight,
Yeah.
and you're going to live a longer life.
Yep.
There's no doctor out there that would say alcohol will extend your life or make your skin look better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or help you with weight. So those are real appealing to your vanity types of things that motivated me.
So, leading into the health and wellness, what's something that you're doing to keep in shape? Do you have a morning routine? What gets you up and going in the mornings? How are you able to stay sharp and keep your mind and body where it needs to be the best attorney?
Thanks, man. My wife, Ann, she loves yoga, and she does a lot of yoga, and I really appreciate doing downward dog and some of those morning stretches to loosen everything up. It's one of the first things I do. I do try to drink a lot of water. I try to journal, and I try to walk. I was running and biking a lot. I broke my ankle about a year and a half ago, and it's been a slow recovery. I think I'm back there. I jogged this morning, you know, but since I haven't been able to jog so much, I've been picking up weights more lately, and that was something I never really played with. I used to just run, jog, play basketball, and that's how I stayed in shape. Now that I can't do those things as often as I would like, I've had to lift weights a little bit more and stretching, meditating, and journaling.
Okay. Okay. So,
And I'm up at like 4 a.m. a lot. Now, I go to bed pretty early, but I'm up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. pretty regularly. So I have 2 or 3 hours to myself before the rest of the world starts working. And it's important to put yourself first and take care of some things for your own health and wellness.
gotcha. So I want to talk about or ask you, what are maybe 2 or 3 things, core values or principles that you believe have led you to your success today and to helping so many people and impacting so many lives? I know you're a great attorney at Dudley and DeBosier. What are some of the things you live by and that you apply to your life?
Okay. Well, the right thing isn't always easy to do, and the easy thing isn't always the right thing to do. So if there's something difficult, then I usually try to do it rather than avoid it. And if you know something's right, I think it's important to go out of the way to do the right thing. In this business as a lawyer, your credibility, your word, your professional image matters a lot. So even small things like you could have a typo in a brief, or you might have somebody else write something for you as a lawyer that might not be 100% correct. But if you sign your name off on it, you're saying you read it and that this is all true and correct. Well, it's happened to me before that I've discovered a mistake later, and I've had to go and confess to everybody like, hey, this was a mistake in here. But it's better off than letting the mistake, a lie, run off like it's the truth for a long time. So even sometimes it may be embarrassing that you have to admit that you did something wrong, but I think that
Accountability.
it's better to admit when you know you did something wrong and to take something back that was untrue than rather let an injustice be done. Because then later on down the line, your credibility would be completely shot.
I love that, man. I love that. Accountability. Definitely. I think that's something that our world lacks today. And I think that's something that the audience could definitely take away from today's episode, is just holding yourself to a high standard of accountability. What are some other things, Ross?
What do you want to know, Matt? What do you want to know?
I mean, you're a great husband and a great father. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those little rascals you got? I know one of them, Big Gus, Augustus, and we got Lee is your oldest, right? So,
well, I'll tell you about my wife first. And so we have been together for 15 years, and we met at Fred's bar in Tigerland. I was in law school and she was in college, and we've been together for 15 years. We've had a bunch of wonderful vacations and trips together, and she's my best friend. So she's somebody I can talk to about anything, and we shared a lot together. And
she's got your whole rap album.
She's got my rap album. We got married with no prenup. So
no prenup, and knowing you were gonna be a big dog attorney, huh?
That's right. When I definitely was overdraft on my checking account when I met her.
Hell yeah.
She's been there since the beginning.
You tricked that one.
Have you seen this SEC couple thing that's going around?
No, I have not. Why don't you tell me about that?
It's just all about how the women are much hotter than the guys,
In the SEC.
In the SEC, that's the way. But my wife's a good-looking lady, so I hit out of my league on that one, maybe.
I kicked your coverage, they like to say.
Yeah, sure.
And so tell us about your parenting style. I want to hear about how you keep those boys in line. What are some of the things that you're trying to instill in them that maybe you received or didn't receive when you were younger?
Man, it's so funny. So I have 2 sons, and they're 8 and 5, and they both remind me of me in different ways, even though they're different from each other. But with boys, they need a lot of physical activity. They need to wrestle with their dad. They need to go to the park and run around. If you don't let your boys run out like that, they'll act out in different ways. You know, you definitely need to teach boys, all kids, but boys especially, the difference between right and wrong, the importance of honesty. You know, because they always try to find things they can get away with a little bit, you know, and you understand that. And it's been a challenge because I think I can be quick to get mad. You know, my own anger is something that I have to deal with. And so with your kids, you don't want to put anger onto your kids or put any kind of like negativity or bad juju onto your kids, you know, but they do make you upset sometimes. And so learning how to process your anger and react in a different way has really helped me mature as a person, being a dad. So I'm grateful to them for that. And I'll say, I don't get it all right all the time. I'm not a perfect dad all the time, but it matters to me about trying to be a good influence on their lives. And maybe that's the best you could hope for out of a dad.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you're doing a fantastic job. We often come over for dinner, and you got great young boys.
Thank you.
Thinking about that, raising young men. If you were able to look back, whether that be younger Ross or early in his career Ross, what is something that you'd like to tell him?
If I met younger Ross, how old?
Let's go high school Ross, and then we'll go like 5 years into his career Ross. So high school Ross first.
If I met high school Ross, I would say that you're fine just the way you are, and I wish you'd let yourself be yourself a little bit more often because people might like you more if they got to know the real you.
Okay.
That's what I would say to high school
Be
Ross.
authentic.
Absolutely.
And then now let's talk about Ross 5 years into his career.
5 years into my career,
Early in your career.
I would probably say Ross, quit drinking so much. that would be one. And I would also say it's important who you surround yourself with. Who you surround yourself with, you know.
Don't split that bottle of Jack at the draft with that knucklehead, right?
No. yeah. And look, man, I think you're a good influence as a friend. So I'm glad to count you in one of my circles. I think a lot of people probably claim you as a best friend, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to count you. And for me, you're one of my best friends too.
I appreciate that, Ross.
And friends are people that make you want to be better.
Absolutely.
That you'd like to associate with. I don't know. I hear about people taking trips, 10 or 12 people going together on vacations. I don't have any friends like that.
I don't either, man. I feel like that happens.
I'm not in that group.
Bruh. I
have my family. I have my job. I have myself that I have a relationship with. And I got a little bit of time left to call a few people and text a few people, you know, and those are my male friendships right now.
Yeah, right, dude.
At this point in my life.
I've got some friends, you know, back from high school, small town, you know, and they take those big trips like that with the big friend groups. I don't know. I have, like I said, like you said, I have a select group of friends, people who hold me to a different standard, things that I look up to them for and want to aspire to be like. And each one of them's kind of different. I just can't help but think about the mastery when I look at you and your constant pursuit of being the best attorney you can be. I know one thing. I don't know how many people you've shared this with, but I know you've been working on a little project. Have you talked about this on any of your platforms or something?
What are you talking about?
You've been writing something, Ross. Want to talk about that? You care to share?
Man, I've been writing a book. I forgot I told you about that.
Oh,
but
elephant never forgets.
Right. No, I've been writing a book called Shoot to Score, and it's just kind of my thoughts on how to practice law. And I was thinking, you know, would this be a book that I could give to my sons one day or to other younger lawyers? Because I do enjoy mentoring younger lawyers. People come into the career, come into the field, and it's important who tells them, you know, what to do and how to do it. Because there are some thoughts in the personal injury field of just settle every case, settle them quickly, you know, avoid trial as much as possible. And there's a whole lot of shortcuts that people teach to others. And while maybe that might be important to know, It might be the right thing to do on some cases. I think if people don't learn the exact right way to do it the long way, or the right reason to try a case in certain instances, and they never focus on that, then it corrupts the whole process. And we end up with bad lawyers overall, and the public's harmed. And the lawyers themselves don't enjoy the job as much either. So whenever I get a younger lawyer that I get to work with or mentor in some way, I enjoy teaching them everything that I've learned along the way.
Yeah, I definitely think you have so much to share with a young attorney, somebody who's aspiring to impact lives, right? We talk about some attorneys are thinking about money, but it's really about the impact that you have on people's lives. And if anybody should write a book, I think it's you, my friend. And so
Appreciate it.
I'm very glad that we touched on that.
I don't know if you've tried to write a book yet, but
I have a lot of notes in my phone about different things that
Yeah.
I think, like principles in my life and like different phrases that I've coined and kind of come up with. And
so
I
I
think
so I
back
wrote
to
it.
experiences.
I thought I had a good book together. I sent it off to a publisher. I don't even think they read it, but they emailed me back. They emailed me back like it's not what we're looking for because
It's just toilet paper material. Flush
it
this shit.
wasn't in like the right format that a publisher would want it. So then I had to go look at, well, what are they looking for? And that person educated me and told me some more. So now I've been trying to structure it and organize it into a book instead of
Okay.
just some ramblings of some
Ross,
guy.
have you heard of ChatGPT?
Man, I do use ChatGPT, but not to write.
No, not to write, but maybe to help with the organizational, like you said, kind of reorganizing it. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got
So I
because you've
finished.
got the content, you've
So I
got the
finished the
fully.
book, and then I went through like a revision draft, and
Okay.
then I've gone back to it, and then you change so much over the year or two that you spend writing a book.
Okay.
You change, and then you start rethinking whether you even need to put that chapter in or take that one out. You start rethinking everything
gonna-
you put.
I've got to give you something. Put the book out. Put the book out now. This won't be the last book that you write.
Yeah,
So when I started doing this podcast, I love Laura to death, my business partner who's helped me to develop this. And I kind of had anxiety about, what it was going to be like. I had this vision for these first 10 guests, and I was just a little bit of anxiousness to it and, negative self-talk or doubt creeping in your mind. No doubt you're going to put out the best version that you can put out. And every decision that we make is with the best information that we have at the time. So I'd love to see that book come out sooner than later, and I know it won't be the last book that you write.
Thank
so
you, man.
that would be a bit of advice. Don't
don't
get
perfect be the enemy of the good.
yeah. Don't get hung up on I've changed and I would write.
Mhm.
Man, put the book out and write another book. Have a volume 2.
You know what? This is a nonfiction book that I'm working on, but I want to write a fiction book. You
Yeah.
know, and it's that thing as being a lawyer. When I said I was going to law school, and when I was in college, and I said I was going to law school, at the time I was doing creative writing. I was in a lot of poetry workshops and fiction workshops, and all my teachers there told me, "Well, if you become a lawyer, then you'll never be a writer because there's John Grisham and there's some other ones, but lawyers don't generally write a lot. I mean, they don't become artists.
Yeah.
You start to work in different tools in a different way." It bummed me out that they said that, and it always was kind of like somebody telling you can't do something made me want to do it more. So anyway, I've picked up some fiction books this year. I've read some more, and I'm kind of thinking like, I think I can do this. As I'm reading through them, I'm like,
I know
see
you
how
can do
goes.
it.
I see how it goes. I
I
think
know
I can
you can do it, dude. Shit, I had my surgeon after my hip repair tell me I'd never be able to run again. I thought about that son of a bitch every mile on that 26-mile marathon, after a 112-mile bike ride, after a 2.4-mile swim. So for anybody who says you can't do something, I think, give them that little salute.
look at that camera and tell that doctor right now what you think.
Oh, I can't say that doctor's name. He's here in Baton Rouge. He's a turd, though. But that's why I go to Dr. Jeremy Burnham with Ochsner, who would endorse this message. No, he's awesome. He's phenomenal. That's who I got my second opinion from. That's who helped me refer to a better physical therapist to get me on the mend and has able to get me back to being what Laura would consider athletic.
Awesome. Good for you, man.
So, getting back to the name of this podcast, For Profit. Now, profit doesn't always have to mean something monetary, but in your words and thinking on it, what does profit mean for you in your life, in your industry, whether that be personally with your family, relationships?
Yeah. Man, I've thought about this question a lot, like what does money even mean for you? How much money do you need? Because I think as a kid, and I do like to go talk to high schools and talk to kids, and they'll ask, do you make a lot of money? And I'll ask them, what do you think a lot of money is? And it's funny to hear. I mean, children will say, they think making $100,000 is a lot of money. And that's what I thought when I was a kid too, So what is it? How much do you need to be healthy and happy? Probably less than you're making right now. You could still be healthy and happy.
Yeah.
But it's hard to think about doing with less, So what does money really mean to you? What does for-profit mean to me? Money to me means time, and it means breathing room, because if you're a slave to the clock and you have to work overtime or you have to do all these things just to make ends meet, that is a hard existence. A lot of people do live that way, and it's a hard way to make it through, a very stressful way to make it. If I can make enough money where I have time to do other things I want to do besides work, time with my family and friends, that's what money and that's what the real profit would be to me.
I love that.
What does it profit somebody to, gain the whole world and lose your soul is the quote,
Absolutely. Absolutely, brother. Well, look, we appreciate you for coming on the show today. I don't doubt that this will be your last episode. I'm sure we'll have you on in the future. I know a lot of people are going to be interested in some of the things you've had to say today. What's one way that, how can people connect with you on social media? Do you have some handles you'd like to share? And then when's that book dropping?
Yeah. Okay. Book's next year. TikTok.
2026. The book is coming out. I'm holding them to that.
Hey, friend me on Facebook. Ross LeBlanc. You can call me or text me. My cell is 504-236-2451. I live in Baton Rouge. I go to New Orleans all the time. And you can find me on TikTok. It's Lawyer Ross or Call Ross. Just type in Ross LeBlanc on TikTok and you'll find me.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's another episode in the books. Thank you.